Hello, everyone. It's your host, SethTheProgrammer, and today I'm with my good friend, Super Saiyan Ryu.
Hey.
And today we're going to be talking about how much can Goku lift. Now, as you guys may know, there's been a lot of different calculations of how much he can lift, and today we're just going to solve that equation for you. We're going to give you the final answer. So, without further ado, here's Ryu, and he's going to be explaining how much Goku can lift by at least Dragon Ball Super. I think
Yeah,
would be a good
sure.
one.
We can start out with that. Basically, we know that Goku, his lifting showings aren't as good as his striking showings.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, he's definitely. Well, the thing is, Dragon Ball isn't about lifting things. They're not. It's not a show about power lifters or wrestlers. It's a show
Yeah,
about
exactly.
martial artists. Martial artists, they do strikes. That's what they do.
Hmm.
That being said, there are some lifting feats and things that could be interpreted as lifting feats. So a few of those. Number one, basically, you want to go way back in time first when it first starts out. We know Goku, even without ki enhancing himself, is capable of lifting things like large boulders and stuff like that in
He even
Dragon
lifts the
Ball.
car.
Yeah, he lifted a car too as well, and I mean, he pushed, a boulder that was easily, probably about 10 meters tall at one point in early Dragon Ball when he was doing his training with Roshi, and
Yep.
that has been calculated out to, anywhere from 10 to even hundreds of tons. So, I mean, yeah,
That's just a
even
child. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Even as a child without key amplification, he can easily move at least dozens of tons, possibly hundreds of tons, right at the beginning of the series. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, that only makes sense because if you look at his fight with Yamcha around the same time, Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist is capable of launching him through multiple stone pillars, and that kind of force, I mean, easily hundreds of tons of force or more.
Yeah, that's like an artillery level attack.
Yeah, and that stuff would just easily decimate walls and even, small buildings.
So that yeah, that's definitely numerous tons of force.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's without any key amplification.
and then what about his gravity training? What about yeah, like the times 10 gravity was like heavy for him.
Yeah, basically, that is what I would call, you could either call it an inconsistency, plot-induced stupidity, or low end, because when you think about
Yep.
that, 10 times gravity would only make him 2,000 pounds if he was 200 pounds.
Yeah.
And I
Uh,
mean, sure, it's gonna just because of the fact that he's heavier, it's gonna slow him down. But I mean, the fact that he can move stones when he's a little kid that would be heavier than that, it doesn't make much sense that he would struggle with it. So that's more of a plot thing, inconsistent thing than actually showing his real strength with his good feats or his I don't know what you want to call them, consistent feats, I guess.
yeah, he even like hucked Piccolo around, right?
Yeah, Giant Piccolo, who, well, I mean, he was towering over the entire stage that they were fighting on, the entire
He
world
had like
tournament
small
stage.
building
Yeah,
size,
so
yeah.
he at in that state, he's easily hundreds of tons. So I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make much sense for Goku to struggle in 10 times gravity, to be honest. It's more just of a plot thing than anything else because I mean, Akira Toriyama himself has admitted he tries to keep it simple. He doesn't overthink stuff, so he's not going to
Yeah.
think about exact weight measurements and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. In my opinion, I think that I actually learned this recently as well, that gravity it affects more than just weight. It also makes your blood like if Goku was on the planet, it'd make his blood 10 times harder to pump. His eyeballs would be 10 times heavier, every tooth would be 10 times heavier. It's like every piece of your body, not just your muscles, but everything, every internal organ, everything. It's not just about muscle strength. It's also about just adapting in general.
I suppose that would make sense because, I mean, not all your organs are going to grow in strength with your muscles, right? So
Yeah, so just
he
because you
would
can lift
literally
a
have to
car.
adapt his entire body, including things that normally wouldn't become stronger.
Yeah, so I mean, like, even, just because you can lift a car doesn't mean that your heart can somehow pump like that much more blood or anything. It's just your muscle strength.
Yeah, that makes sense too. So I suppose that could partially explain the gravity training being harsh on him.
So I think for before we get into the big leagues, of the lifting calcs, we should go over a few of the down plays. What about the 40-ton feet? What do you think about that?
Well, there's a few issues with that. Number one, like I said, he already lifted more than that in Dragon Ball without key amplification. So right
Yep.
away, at the bare minimum, you can say that's a low end feat, so you shouldn't be using it.
Yep. Um,
Number
it-
two, he
would you
actually
say it was about 400 tons, by the way?
oh yeah. I said basically with Piccolo at least hundreds of tons, and with even with just the very beginning of Dragon Ball moving those large boulders, those would easily be dozens to hundreds of tons as well, depending on what it was made of, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I
Exactly.
mean, he's already at that strength level back in the beginning of Dragon Ball and that kind of stuff without even any amplification at all. Yet you're going to tell
Yep.
me that he needs Super Saiyan amplification to move that kind of weight in Dragon Ball Z in the Buu saga. I mean, just no.
Yeah, no. Um,
The other
and
thing,
then
yeah, the other big thing is he actually performed that feat in the Grand Kai's area, not in a regular place like Earth or heaven or hell. So we have no idea what the gravity is there because that's a place for training, and we know King
yeah,
Kai's planet was 10 times gravity. So there's a huge chance that the gravity could be something different there as well.
yeah, and other than that, there's one more big thing that's downplayed in Dragon Ball Super, with Vegeta lifting Magetta. Apparently, Magetta is like 1,000 tons,
Oh
and
yes, yes, yes. That
he
was
couldn't lift him.
I believe that was in the manga only. Don't quote me
Yeah,
on that, but I think it was only the
only.
manga.
Yeah,
And it was stated that he's over 1,000 tons or something like that.
yep,
But basically, the thing behind that is, again, that would be considered a low end.
yep,
However, on top of that, well, the manga is technically, I don't want to say canon because canon's a word that's not even officially been used in Dragon Ball. But if you want to go down that route, the manga is technically secondary to the anime in most places because it's considered the adaptation of the anime. So you can't really, if it's contradicted in the anime by the manga, you shouldn't really
yeah,
use that.
yeah, exactly. And one thing I'd also like to bring up is that Vegeta was suppressed by this point. He actually didn't show his full power until the end of the Kabe fight. And if a down player uses both the 1,000-ton feat from Vegeta and the 400-ton feat from Goku, then logically, as a Super Saiyan, he would be able to lift more than 2,000 tons.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just inconsistent no matter how you look at it. And I mean, there's just a whole other bunch of reasons why you can't use it, but that's the easiest way to say it's just inconsistent.
So I would say that Vegeta was either suppressing himself really heavily and couldn't do it, or like you said, it was just inconsistency. And
Yeah.
Toyotaro probably didn't think about it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we said, it goes back to them simply wanting to keep the thing simple and them not always thinking about, weight measurements and energy values and that kind of stuff like someone who's actually debating it would. All right, so this is what we're going to get into. We're going to get into basically what is lifting strength. Now,
Okay.
basically, the ability to lift something is to be able to overcome the force that gravity is exerting on an object that you're trying to lift.
Right.
So essentially, your strength is going to have to overcome a force. Now,
Hmm.
force, as we've seen, is basically energy that's being generated into an object and, pushed forward or backward or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So even though this is gravity that's what's putting out that force, we can look at other forces that they're capable of physically catching and overpowering, and it basically is essentially the same thing as lifting due to the fact that they're both energy being concentrated as a force, and they both
Right.
have mass. So obviously you would say that punching wouldn't count because that's considered striking and it's too quick. It's not done over a long period. But the reason why catching an object, stopping it, and pushing it the opposite way works is because that's a prolonged, basically, use of their strength, pushing it and overpowering it. So we can actually look at things such as Goku being able to fire his Kamehameha wave, catching his own wave, and physically holding it, stopping it, and pushing it the opposite way, which shows that
Yeah,
he's able to overcome the force that his Kamehameha wave has behind it. Now,
that's
the
true.
question
Yeah.
is, how strong and how much energy and force is in that Kamehameha wave?
Hmm.
And the answer to that, I think we've talked about many times, just how much can the Kamehameha wave destroy? Essentially, what it is energy with some sort of mass. I would say that it's spiritual energy that's creating the mass, because obviously it has mass since it's capable of, being held and pushed and that kind of stuff, as opposed to just pure energy, which would just, pass through you or just simply disperse or whatever. But
Yeah,
basically,
like it can we've seen, Boo tanks or Frieza, they can shoot blasts that burrow through the entire planet. Yet Goku's able to catch an attack that has so many tons that can just blast through the planet like butter, and Goku's able to capture that. And there's even a scene where he haymakers one of these attack into deep space and blows up another planet. Like
exactly.
that's an insane striking and strength feat, both in
And
itself.
and you'll notice that when he does that, he not just punches it away, but he catches it, stops it while the force is moving him forward, holds it there, and then punches it. So
So it's
it
strength and
certainly
strike.
applies to both. And the
Yep.
fact that he's able to take this attack, it clearly holds enough energy and force to destroy planets or more, the
Yeah,
fact
as
that he
shown.
can physically stop that and knock it away shows that theoretically, if you were to apply something with that much weight to him, he could lift up something that could have the force to destroy planets, which would, of course, be planetary level or higher, depending on how badly it destroyed the planet.
Um, and not only that, not only did he lift a planet level, ball, he also punched it away at faster than light speeds and
Yeah, that's impressive.
obliterated in another planet. So it'd actually be more than just that.
Actually, when you put it that way, that's a good point because if we say that that attack held enough energy and force to destroy a planet, and he was able to punch it away at faster than light speed, that is basically in and of itself like knocking a planet and moving it forward when you get down to the numbers. And when you
Yeah,
get down to the numbers, being able to knock a planet forward that much mass at faster than light speeds, even if we take away relativity, which would make it retarded. But yeah, even if we take away that and we just use basic physics that don't rely on relativity once you get past relativistic speeds, that's still going to put you way up into a large planet level in terms of force. And of course, force directly relates to how gravity pushes down on objects, which is, lifting strength kind of stuff.
right.
So, I mean, you've easily got large planet level possibly reaching into star levels by that point for it to be knocked away at that kind of speed and it's still to have the kind of ability like mass and force to destroy planets. Or we look at for example, Trunks when he's fighting Mecha Frieza. Mecha Frieza uses that supernova attack intended on destroying the Earth. That supernova attack was actually stated to be 10 times what he used on Namek. When he launches
Really.
it at Trunks, Trunks catches it with one hand and lifts it up, just, laughs it off. Frieza blows the thing up, of course, doesn't do anything to Trunks. I mean, it's just showing that not just their striking strength, but their lifting strength, their ability to catch things and maneuver them around, they're all on par.
So I mean, even if you downplayed and said, "Oh no, the blasts don't have the same force and tons as a plant as what it can destroy," the fact that that supernova is capable of burrowing through the planet and say destroy the core, like a down player would say, would still require a lot of force to hold in one hand, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. If we know that just to go down to the core of the planet for something that size, I mean, that kind of force would easily be like, I would say probably within the continental levels at least.
Yeah. So I mean, even holding that supernova that can burrow through the planet with one arm would be at least continental level strength, even if you do disregard the fact that it can detonate an entire planet.
Yeah, and that's ignoring like the speed the things are launched at, the energy that's actually held within the thing, and all these other factors. I mean, Yeah, there's just no way that you're gonna get 40 tons.
Yeah, the 40 tons is definitely low ball. But I mean, Akira Toriyama, he said something about this, and he said the body has limitations, but with ki, you can go beyond those limitations. That's why they train their ki so much. Would you say that the 40-ton thing or the 400-ton thing would just be the limits of his body and not really his ki?
I would say that would be probably one of the better, explanations for how you could make that low end feat make some sense. Yes, I'd say that.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, if you can, because I mean, these energy blasts are consistent. They always. Well, I mean, not area of effect wise, but they're consistent in how the characters deal with them. Like they can
Yeah.
always catch them. They can always do whatever. And these forces, have more force than planets. Yet he can't hold 400 tons. So I mean, the planetary feats are more consistent than the 400 feet would be. So what do you think about Dragon Ball Super Goku strength now that we've gotten that out of the way?
All right, now that that's out of the way, for Dragon Ball Super Goku, I mean, this is just insane, the leap of power that he got from Z to
Yeah,
Super. Like, even in the earliest parts of Super and the Beerus saga, we see that Beerus and Super Saiyan God Goku are capable of destroying not just the entire universe, but the entire macrocosm with their strikes. This isn't even
yeah.
energy attacks, this is their physical strikes.
Yeah, so their hands. Like, I mean, and if you think about it, a boxer can do like 800 pounds of force with a punch, right? And even if you say like the average person can lift like 100 pounds, that only mean that like your strikes would be like 8 times more. So I
Yeah.
mean, even then, it would still be like galaxy level fit like lifting feat in terms
Yeah,
of that.
exactly. And I mean, the thing is here, when you look at Goku and Beerus in their fight, when they're connecting with their strikes, they're literally Goku is positioning it so that he can not only strike at Beerus, but take the force from Beerus's strike, have that be
Hmm.
nullified in an exact position, and
Yep.
basically just stop the entire macrocosm from going gone. So I
Yeah.
mean,
It's an
it's insane.
unquantifiable amount of weight.
Yeah,
But the thing that should be noted, though, is that when their fists collide, their arms stay locked in place. Now, when something's too heavy for you, your arms will bend, right?
yeah,
But their arms stay locked in place, meaning that this galactic level, multi galaxy level lifting or striking, it's still their muscles can handle it. Their muscles can keep their arms straight during that.
and then we can go even further and talk about something that could actually be considered a possible actual lifting feat. Beerus launches an attack at Goku when he's a Super Saiyan, and by the way, this Super Saiyan version is even stronger than he was a Super Saiyan God.
Yeah.
Goku counters it with a Kamehameha. It combines into one attack. Beerus powers that up and launches it at him. When that happens, Goku actually physically catches that, holds it back somewhat, and then when he gets overpowered, his base form punches it out.
Yeah, so his base form was capable of like these multi-galaxy universal level, tons of force, and he was capable of
Exactly.
holding that back.
And
That's really insane to think about.
it's just crazy. This thing was literally ripping holes through space and time. It was going to destroy the macrocosm, and he held it back and then eventually even punched it out. This means his strength, like punching and ability to hold things and lift things, in the end, it's literally going to be macroversal. And I don't want to say it, but 4D, which technically equals infinite 3D, you could literally even make a good case for him having infinite strength.
Infinite doesn't mean omnipotent,
Yeah,
by the way,
not
guys.
omnipotent. It's
We're
infinite
not saying he's
3D.
like God. We're saying that he's above the third dimensional, like you and me.
Exactly.
Anyways, guys, I think we've all learned today that 400 tons is definitely way below Goku's actual lifting potential. Other than that, guys, be sure to check out Ryu's channel. Subscribe to him if you haven't already. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. And I always talk about stuff like this. So, be sure to subscribe to both of us. And other than that, guys, till next time.